The youngest ever world champion starts his title defence. The pre-season thoughts of Fernando Alonso. Thoughts also from Jenson Button on his great season of opportunity with Honda. And all the faces and names you may be less familiar with. Your full 2006 grid guide to the eager new teams. And talking of exciting potential, there's Martin Brundle among the celebrities in this morning's V8 saloon car race. And you can get close to the action as well. Our competition offers a privileged day at the British Grand Prix at Silverstone. But here in Bahrain, the new qualifying system thrills the fans but takes its toll. And it gives an historic 65th pole position to Michael Schumacher. We'll review it all. Yes, Michael Schumacher yesterday matching the pole position record of the great Ayrton Senna and sending out what sort of message on behalf of Ferrari to the rest of the field, Mark Blundell?
Well, it's a big message. The message is they're back. Ferrari, Bridgestone, Michael Schumacher. They've got the front row. Michael's got pole, as you say, 65 poles now, like the great Ayrton Senna. But everybody was a little bit upset by it. They didn't think Ferrari would be that strong. Especially Felipe Massa alongside him, the new boy on the front row. Well, I think the young boys kicked the old man's backside a little bit, and he's keeping Michael on his toes. But I think that's what Michael likes. He likes to have a strong teammate, and by the looks of things, Massa just could be another one of those. Race conditions today, it's warm, the sun is out, by no means the 40 degrees of last year. Bit of breeze around the circuit as well. What about race conditions? Well, it's going to be a little bit tougher for him, Steve, because there's some nasty little gusts. These gusts are coming up about 20-30 miles an hour. May just catch him out in some of these corners here. Not easy to control the car when you get that come across, but overall not too bad to drive in. Well, here at Renault, it's the world champion Fernando Alonso who's on the second row alongside Jenson Button, who qualified third yesterday. But the world champion, he enters the defence of his title looking very confident, very composed, despite delivering that shock news just before Christmas that he was committing himself to McLaren for the 2007 season. Let's start our race build-up by hearing from the great new Spanish superstar.
I enjoy every day in my life, even if when I was not world champion, I still enjoy, and I think I'm in a very good sport that I enjoy every day working in a Formula 1 car. I love driving, and I drive the best cars in the world, and I'm very lucky for this. And obviously, to be world champion also is a dream come true, and a new motivation for this year, because I will have #1 in my car, and this is completely impossible to think 4 or 5 years ago. It's nearly impossible to go to a restaurant or to go somewhere privacy. I think you have always people behind you or media behind you, and it's a little more uncomfortable. But I'm living in England, I live in Oxford, and I can really relax there and concentrate for the Grand Prix, which is the important part of my life at the moment. I try to find the best solution for my future with 4 or 5 teams that offer me a new contract, and McLaren was the best solution, in my opinion, for my future, and I really think that I had the best option on my hand. I think it was impossible to keep secret this type of deals, and you know, even with this, I can concentrate in the 2006 season with not thinking and not the pressure of the media. I'm very motivated, and I'm really looking for the first race. I feel confidence with the car. I feel confidence because I proved last year that I was able to win the championship, and now I feel like I can do it again. So you know, I have no pressure. I want to enjoy the championship, but this year I really want to win the championship.
Fernando Alonso, he is looking confident, sounding confident as well. And here at Renault, let's hear about the confidence around the team from Managing Director Flavio Briatore. It seems that the preparations for your World Championship defence have been just about ideal.
Good afternoon, everybody. Yeah, I mean, we are confident. Yesterday, maybe Fernando had a little mistake, but we are quite confident to be competitive, and I'm sorry for Fisichella. You know, we don't know today what happened to Fisichella. At one point, I believe it was an electronic problem. Everything dropped, and he managed to finish in the lap. We not change the engine. We see what happened in the lap before the formation lap. But I'm very confident. I'm confident because the team is very motivated. Fernando is very upset about the lap of yesterday, and we are there.
Last season, of course, the World Championship was built on the start to the season that you made it. Do you feel you can make the same sort of start over this highly competitive field?
When you consider today the 20 race of 2005, not the first race of 2006, we are very confident. Our strategy is good, our start is good. I mean, if we go in front, it look like we are quite heavy respect to our competition, I mean Ferrari and Jenson Button. We see. I believe it's a very good race, and I believe your guys need to talk in front of the TV.
Headlines of the close season, of course, Fernando's decision to commit to McLaren and so on, and question marks over Renault's commitment. But it's all focused now, is it?
You know, this year we have all the commitment to win the championship. Next year, you know, when you win a lot, the motivation of the team go down. But next year, our motivation will be to beat Fernando. I mean, with this, I keep the motivation high to everybody.
Motivation is sky high at the moment. We wish you the best.
Okay.
Flavio, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
Okay, alongside Fernando Alonso on the second row will be Jenson Button in the Honda, qualifying third, in fact, and looking very confident and in tremendous form at the head of what could be a really huge season for him. He certainly feels ready to at last land that first Grand Prix victory, and he also seems ready to take on his highly competitive Honda teammate, Rubens Barrichello.
It's going to be very competitive. You know, Rubens is a guy he's still so hungry to be challenging at the top. He brings a lot of experience with him from Ferrari and also working with Michael. So it's going to be a challenge for both of us. And even though we've got to work off the circuit together, there'll be a big rivalry when we're actually racing.
If I have to beat everyone, that's Jenson included. But I don't want to make too much of a fuss about, because we're getting on so well, we're working so well together. In order for me to win or for him to win, we need to work well together.
We've had some great overtaking manoeuvres on each other, and I enjoy racing with him, and I'm sure this year we're going to be battling between us a lot of the year, because we're both quick and we're in the same car, so we're going to find each other on the circuit a lot.
Jenson is a young driver who, a good one. He's going to be a champion for sure in the future. If that's going to happen soon or later, I don't know. It's been quite a good relationship, and I don't think it will change. We've already said, I mean, if we have this competitive car and we want to do it nicely, we might get to a time when we find each other on the track and even touch or something, but that doesn't have to change our relationship.
You know, we'll share everything because at this point in time we need to have as much feedback on the car and the engine as possible for the team. We've just got to concentrate on doing that, and then when we get onto the circuit, you know, it's every man for himself, which is always the way it is in every sport.
Jenson, he has a gift. Really, he's got probably the most beautiful driving style I've ever seen, and I think certainly he has all the raw materials to achieve whatever success is in his destiny, if you see what I mean. Rubens, he was my rival for most of my career, and he's very quick. I think between the two of them, I think we definitely have two of the best guys in the business.
Obviously, I'm here to work for a team that it's been almost winning, but not winning fully on the past, and I came here to make that little gap happen. It's I'm bringing the experience, but I'm bringing my speed most of all to try and really to make the gap.
For me, it's going to be a very exciting year, for not just for British fans, but for fans around the world. But I think this is a year where hopefully they're going to see a British driver at the front. I've raced in 100 races and I haven't won a race in Formula One, but I've won so many races in my previous career. I know how to win races, and I think when you've won your first race, I think more wins will come, but because you have the package to achieve those wins.
We moved up the pit lane, Mark Blundell and myself, to Honda. Plenty of activity around Jenson Button's car. Surely during the course of this season he's going to make it after 100 Grand Prix starts, that long-awaited first victory. Can he do it today, though?
Race 101, and I think there's a big probability that Jensen can pull off a win today. I think the car is looking good on the circuit, the handling's there. Jensen's a smooth driver, you need that with the tyres and these kind of track conditions, and I think they're carrying a fair bit of fuel, so they're looking good for the race.
What about that internal competition with Rubens Barrichello? How good is that for Jensen?
I think it's a great thing for Jensen. I think it's great to have a good, strong teammate with lots of experience. Rubens comes across with race wins, Ferrari experience. He's going to lift Jensen's game, and Jensen's going to have to lift his game to beat that old guy.
In terms of mental composure, what extra does it require from Jensen? We know what he's like technically, but in terms of composure, as that first win beckons, what does he need?
You know, he's just got to break his duck with his first win, Steve. He's got the balance in the car, he's got the mental aptitude for it, and he knows what needs to be done. He's done it in early formulas, but if he just gets one under his belt, there'll be plenty more to come.
Let's hope he can do it very soon. Let's hope he can do it today. In the very neighbouring garage, we got David Coulthard for Red Bull, the last British driver to win a Formula One Grand Prix. He's done it 13 times. So he stays with Red Bull. Jensen stays with Honda. No changes there. But as you would expect at the start of the season, plenty of changes up and down the pit lane. Louise Goodman can take us through all of those, a look at the runners and the teams, with particular emphasis on what's different.
Take a 4-year-old Arrows car, give it a new paint job, and you've got a Super Aguri. Takuma Sato is joined by Yuji Ide in the all-Japanese lineup. Gerhard Berg has become a part owner of Scuderia Toro Rosso, formerly Minardi. Tono Liuzzi and Scott Speed are using Rev Limited V10. Jordan has become MF1 Racing. New name, new driver. Thiago Montero is joined by Christian Albers. BMW has now taken full control of the Sauber team. Jacques Villeneuve stays. He's joined by German Nick Heidfeld. Red Bull's attracted some top names to the team. Design Supremo Adrian Newey's been charged with building a race-winning car for Christian Klien and David Coulthard. The new Honda team's looking very strong. That's great news for Jensen Button and his new teammate Rubens Barrichello. The car looks quick and reliable. Williams has switched to Bridgestones for 2006 and there's a customer Cosworth engine powering Mark Webber and newcomer Nico Rosberg. Toyota's also switched to Bridgestones but retained the same drivers, Ralf Schumacher and Jarno Trulli. Ferrari's hoping to return to championship winning form this season. Felipe Massa's the new Brazilian, partnering Michael Schumacher. Kimi Raikkonen and his McLaren teammate Juan Pablo Montoya will need a car that's quick and reliable to challenge for the championship. Fernando Alonso wants to keep his title. Giancarlo Fisichella wants to take it from him. Expect another strong challenge from Renault.
And just to decode what Flavio was saying about Giancarlo Fisichella a little earlier in the show, Fisichella was doing his last qualifying lap and he felt a loss of power from the engine. So they got it back and they didn't want to immediately change the engine because of course that would mean a 10th place drop on the grid. So what they've done is changed more or less everything else to do with the engine's electronics. The wiring loom, the master control unit, the engine electronic control unit, and they're just hoping for the best. They're going to send Giancarlo out on the formation lap. If they see on the data the engine is still down on power and it hasn't fixed it, he'll come in, take the spare car and then start from the pit lane. So trouble already for Giancarlo Fisichella and the season's barely begun.
Yes, it's generally been an enthusiastic thumbs up for the new qualifying system. Do you think that final session needs a bit of a tweak though?
I'd like to see it tweaked a little bit. We had 15 minutes with 2 sessions there each of pure excitement. Then we went into the 20-minute third session and it just lost a little bit of that anticipation. Just running around with fuel for a few laps to burn it off, not quite what I wanted or would have expected.
But as Kimi Raikkonen discovered, if you have any problems, even early in the session, you can be knocked back to the far end of the grid. He must be thinking it's last season all over again.
Well, it's a big blow for him. Psychologically, he turns up here to come and try and get a World Championship under his belt, and you get problems like this. Unfortunately for Kimi, they've got suspension failure, a lower wishbone gave way. After 8,000 kilometres of testing, you think these kind of things would be solved. But this qualifying format can pick up any team or any driver with this kind of problem, and you're going to pay for it.
Well, we're all expecting a big charge from Kimi in the early part of this race to come. Mark, take us through that grid in some detail.
Michael Schumacher takes his 65th pole position. It equals Ayrton Senna's all-time record. Massa is very close behind him, his best ever grid slot. Button only 300th of a second behind. Alonso, the world champion, sits fourth in the Renault. Great performance there for Montoya after missing this race last year, fifth for McLaren. Barrichello 300ths off of JB. Webber in the Williams, good performance for them. Clean also happy with eighth. Fisichella in the Renault a little bit disappointed to be so far behind his teammate. Heifeld there with the BMW Sauber in the top 10. Villeneuve out of that drop zone. Rosberg, the son of 82 world champ Keke, is looking strong. Coulthard okay in the Red Bull but not happy. Toyota with Trulli. 15th and 16th. It's the Toro Rosso team for Lutzi and Speed making their debut races here. 17th position, Ralf Schumacher, a very disappointed man indeed. Albers is 18th in the Midland. Montero 19th. Super Aguri, a new team to the grid with Sato 20th. Ide, a newcomer, 21st, and a disappointing performance for Raikkonen with a damaged car, 22nd slot.
And out here in the pit lane, I've been joined by the FIA President, Max Mosley. Good afternoon to you. What did you make of qualifying yesterday and the new excitement it brings?
Well, I enjoyed it. I thought it was non-stop action, which is what we're looking for, particularly at the circuit. I think even more than at home. It was very exciting, and I hope and think it'll go on like that all season now.
Now, your motivation through the course of the close season, your attempts to try to get the budgets down and under control within Formula One, rebel manufacturers on the fringe of things as well. What's the situation now? How close are you to peace breaking out?
I think surprisingly close, much closer than I thought we would be. All the manufacturers, even the ones that are making big profits, are now talking about getting the costs down. The achievement was to get cost on the agenda, because if we don't get the cost down, we're going to lose the people who haven't got so much money, and that's a disaster. So they're all talking about getting the cost down. Now the argument's how. Well, that's much easier. It's getting them to agree the principle is the difficult bit.
After a close season like that, it's great to get the racing going again, isn't it?
Oh no, it's a relief, and I think everybody's pleased, and it's so good to see four different teams all really, really close. Nobody quite knows how much fuel it's exactly how it should be.
Thank you very much indeed, and enjoy the afternoon and enjoy the season as well.
Thank you, Steve.
Max Mosley, the FIA president, and out here on the grid, well, we'll have the superstars of Formula One filling the grid very shortly, and Martin Brundle will be out there as well. In a few minutes' time, in fact, we'll see Martin and a few other familiar celebrity names in racing action. Join us again right after the break. Around 35 minutes to go to the start of the 2006 Formula One World Championship season. Around 35 minutes to go to the start of this so eagerly awaited Bahrain Grand Prix. The pre-race entertainment in full swing. The third Grand Prix to be staged here at the new Sakhir circuit. Whoever has taken pole position has taken victory. Whoever has taken victory has gone on to win the World Championship. And the Kingdom of Bahrain is very proud of its place in the Formula One calendar. Indeed, Bahrain has a great deal in general to be proud of.
The Kingdom of Bahrain is a group of 33 islands which lie off the east coast of Saudi Arabia. It's a country proud of its rich and colourful heritage, but a nation keen to establish new traditions too. The cornerstones of traditional Bahraini life are the dhow, pearls and the souk. But as the country moves forward into the 21st century, it's looking to Formula One to help generate awareness, tourism and new business opportunities. Like the £150 million financial harbour due for completion in 2007, Bahrain already has a large offshore banking sector, and it's hoping this project will establish the country as the premier Islamic banking centre in the Middle East. The third Bahrain Grand Prix is expected to attract a worldwide audience of 400 million viewers, but the organisers are keen to generate a local fan base too. This 172-metre billboard on the side of the Al Muayyad Tower is the biggest advert in Formula One history, and you can see it from all over the capital city. It's impossible to miss the fact that Formula One is in town. But will the Bahrainis head out of town and into the desert to watch the race? Last year, only 55% of the fans in the grandstands were locals. The remainder had flown in especially for the Grand Prix. This year, the organisers have handed out free tickets to students at Bahrain University to help build a homegrown audience for the future. For the first time in the event's history, they're expecting all 42,000 grandstand seats here at the circuit to be full for today's race. What's never proved a problem in Bahrain is filling the VIP hospitality areas, like the Sakia Tower, where the Bahraini royal family will be entertaining 600 guests today. Bahrain boasts the largest VIP facility of any Formula One track. It can accommodate almost 6,000 people in air-conditioned splendour. And unlike the grandstand seats, the VIP tickets were all snapped up within 2 weeks of going on sale. It may be one of the newest tracks on the calendar, but the guiding light behind the Bahrain Grand Prix is very happy with Formula One's contribution to his country.
Your Highness, thanks for welcoming us here to the Kingdom of Bahrain. We know how wonderful the circuit is, but what kind of an honour is it to actually be hosting the start of the Formula One season?
Well, it's a fabulous thing. It's the right time of year for us. It was a bit difficult to get all of the activities geared up and get the spirit built up, but we thought that having it at the beginning, which was lucky for us this year, has been a tremendous boost for the profile of the event and also the enthusiasm of the crowds. So we're very happy.
Over the last few years, how have you seen that enthusiasm for motorsport in general grow in this part of the world?
It's certainly growing. Circuit racing is behind more traditional sports here like drag racing. But as local heroes come into the series and some of the more junior series, hopefully one day they'll filter up into the more prestigious ranks like Formula One. But we're seeing it growing.
Well, your circuit had the responsibility of hosting what turned out to be a dramatic new system of qualifying. How much did you enjoy that?
I actually enjoyed it. I thought it was fantastic. It's a little bit hard to follow in the beginning, but watching that qualifying lap by Michael Schumacher made up for it all.
And Schumacher on pole position at your Grand Prix once again. What do you expect from the race?
Well, nobody knows. We'll wait and see. But I think he's equalled Ayrton's
record.
Yeah, Ayrton's record. So that's a big deal, and I'm very pleased for him. And I wish basically everybody a great success at the event.
It's providing us with a great start to the season, and so too is your hospitality. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you, and let me say to all the fans of Formula One around the world, it's our pleasure to host one round of this championship, and we hope we make it as entertaining for you, the fans, as it is for us.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Well, he'll have a pretty good view of what's to come, I'm sure, and this Bahrain International Grand Prix is surrounded by spectacle. And last year, everyone's attention was riveted by the Gulf Air Airbus fly past and the aerobatics that were going on in the air above the desert here. And it's all part of the spectacle of Formula One in the desert. And we've got a pretty good view here in front of the Renault garage. Final preparations being made to Fernando Alonso's car as we look down the pit lane, and there's that Airbus circling, it seems about, 500 feet above us, and everyone sort of instinctively ducks, even people who are experienced around a Formula One grid.
Seems a little bit low to me. I'd sooner be down here than up there, that's for sure. But yeah, it's getting exciting now, and I think this is going to be a great kickoff season for 2006. We've got so many things that have changed, and so many people who are in different positions, and a lot of people with a lot of anticipation of what result they're going to pick out.
What about the way Bahrain has responded over the years, and the way the passion for Formula One is starting to grow in this part of the world?
It's amazing. Bear in mind, there's only 660,000 people here population-wise. 250,000 of those are expats, but there's a huge education of what's going on in F1, and it's great to start here. It's fantastic for everybody.
Let's take a quick look behind us here. Fernando Alonso's Renault in the last stages of preparation here. And exactly how tense are these moments, Mark Blundell?
Fernando won't be too tense at this moment in time. He knows what the job is ahead of him. He's got to get himself onto that grid, obviously, with no problems. He leaves here quite calm and collected. Fizzy's going to have a few more issues because he knows that he's been running around with engine problems. They've done a lot of changes, and he's not sure whether he's going to stay in his race car or he's going to have to go to the T car.
So the pit lane opening, and Fernando Alonso all set to start the defence of his Formula One World Championship title. But before the superstars of Formula One get onto the grid, well, we had a celebrity race a little bit earlier today, a kind of showcase for the talents of some of the older drivers like our own Martin Brundle and some rather less pacey but fairly familiar celebrities as well. Let's show you who got it right and who got it wrong, and there was a lot of incident, as you can imagine. There There was Rick Parfitt of Status Quo and others with a certain driving pedigree like JK.
It's my lucky orange lid.
And others with sporting pedigree that combine power with speed and glamour as well. Celebrities paired with professional drivers relishing the prospect.
Hey ho, here we go.
Oh, this is a little bit different from rowing.
Pink Floyd's Nick Mason had drawn Martin as his partner. Brundle set for his own revival tour.
We've just got 5 laps, then I hand the car over to Nick Mason. So hopefully we can be a lot further up when we finish this race. We'll see how it goes. Great start, went from the back of the grid up to P3 and Nick's taken over. He's quite handy in the car, so great first lap, total carnage. If they're the pros, because of the celebs weren't going down to the first corner, because the car's quite quick, like 400 horsepower. They get on with it, but a few loonies out there, but we managed to pick our way through. Good fun.
It was victory for Steve Redgrave. Not the first time I've said that. He's 1 in a 4, but now in a very productive pair with the Australian touring car man Greg Tander. Nick Mason, Martin Brundle in close attendance in second. Redgrave on the podium again. And I wonder if they'll need that Union Jack again just a little bit later this afternoon. OK, we'll be on the grid in a very few minutes' time. Let's see what further celebrities Ted Kravitz might have found.
Well, if there's one person I didn't expect to see at a Grand Prix, it's Les Ferdinand. Having a good time? What are you up to here?
Yeah, fantastic. I've just come down and have a look at the race. I came yesterday, watched the qualifying. I've been there for a couple of days and I'm here to watch the race today.
So what do you make of it? And can you really believe that these guys in the cars are also as athletic as any footballer needs to be?
Oh, they're absolutely phenomenal. You know, their fitness levels, you look at them, you think they're sitting in a car, but someone was telling me, like, you know, they're braking at 5 Gs and stuff and doing that for 57 laps. It's like they've got to be incredibly fit.
Your tip for the win, who do you want to win?
I mean, it's hard to look beyond Michael Schumacher, but, you know, Alonso and a few of the others have been great drivers over the years. You know, we've got a good chance, but once the Ferraris get up front, it's very difficult to pass them.
OK, thanks. Nice to see you.
Giles Burrows from South London says one of his favourite things about Formula One is the noise. Well, with the engine changes for 2006, how has it changed? Well, we know that the cylinders have dropped down from 10 to 8. Let's take a listen to the difference. Well, as you can hear, the engine note is a lot richer. I've got Martin Whitmarsh with me, and we're going to ask him why there's that difference.
Okay, as you know, we've changed from V10 to V8. We're revving about the same, but we've got 20% less cylinders, there's 20% less bangs. So there's the intensity of noise has been reduced. There's still about 130 decibels, so it's a bit like being alongside a jet aircraft when they go past. So they're still noisy, but you've got less noise. You've got only 8 cylinders, 4 going into 1 in the collector of each side of the exhaust system. So the sonic characteristics of the exhaust are different, so they sound different, but they're still noisy and they're still thrilling.
How much difference in power output is there between the two engines?
We've lost about 200 brake horsepower, which obviously impacts the top speed, but because we've reduced the wing setting, we're losing maybe 10 to 15 kilometres an hour at the end of each straight.
Thanks, Martin. Well, Giles, there's your answer.
Well, Minardi has become Toro Rosso, and they've got a new boss as well, Gerhard Berger. Gerhard, it's very easy to change the colours of the team. How are you going to go about changing their fortune?
I didn't understand the question.
I'm saying it's very easy to change the colours of a team, but how do you go about changing their fortunes?
It's a long way. I mean, we are starting really, we are just in the beginning, but we have some good facilities, we have good people, trying to get more good people. and we have to have a little bit passion. But for the first weekend, it looked all right.
You did all right in qualifying. What do you think of this new qualifying format?
Really super. I like it a lot. I criticized it a bit before because I thought it's too complicated, but whoever did it, well done. It's good improvement.
Do you think you can do well in the race? Chances for the race?
Well, you know, long race. It's first race is always a bit unpredictable on reliability. We should be in good shape with reliability because we are using a 10-cylinder engine, but we will see.
We'll keep our fingers crossed. Thanks, Gerhard.
And down on the grid, the tension mounts, especially for the likes of Jenson Button and that Honda team, Mark Blundell, in the full knowledge of exactly the kind of potential that this season may well hold for them. And Jenson looking very relaxed.
He does look relaxed, and he knows that they're coming here with over 20-odd thousand kilometres of testing under the belt. He knows the car's reliable, he knows it's quick, and he's a little bit disappointed to be even third on the grid, Steve. He knows that there was a car under him to get him pole yesterday, but I think he has a great opportunity, probably the best opportunity of his career at this point, to start looking at getting Grand Prix wins.
Importantly for Jenson and Honda, and also Ferrari, the miles that they put in here in Bahrain. They're one of the few teams to come out here and test.
Well, I think it paid off for those guys. They were the two teams that came before the race was here and such, and they did a few miles around the circuit, got their setup and got the data, and it seems to have paid off for them.
Fernando Alonso, well, Renault, one of the teams that chose not to come here, but they put in some very high mileage, some very consistent mileage as well in practice over the last few weeks. And Giancarlo Fisichello's car, we understand so many questions after qualifying yesterday, seems to be okay.
Well, that would be good. I think Fitty would be very happy that he's got the race car under him. It's not a good situation for a driver to actually swap across to a T car at this late stage.
Schumacher has become a very familiar name on the grid, be it Ralph or Michael, and Rosberg is a very familiar name on the grid as well. Nico Rosberg is going to be one of the big stars of this season and seasons to come, I'm sure. He's with Ted.
Yes, absolutely, Steve, thank you. And Nico, here you are on the grid for your first ever Formula One Grand Prix. Feeling calm?
Actually, in a sense, yeah, not too bad. I mean, I thought it would be worse. So, no, just, you know, it's not going to be easy, but I'm looking forward to the race, and just need to try and do a good job, get through the first corner, and then maybe try and get some points towards the end of the race.
How's the car handling? How did it feel on the way to the grid? You had to go pretty slowly, I guess.
Yeah, it was good. I actually was able to push, so I could get a bit of a feel for the fuel level and everything, you know, because I haven't driven around here with so much fuel yet. So it felt good. It felt really good, and I think we can have a strong race.
Thanks. Have a good race.
What are the particular characteristics of this Sakhir circuit, Mark, and how enthusiastically is it approached by the drivers? How keen are they on the demands here?
The drivers like this. It's a Tilke circuit, a modern design. I think now it's just kind of getting itself into that maturity where the guys turn up, they know what levels of grip they've got. And it's one of those circuits which is a challenge. There's a few undulations and cambers, quite a lot more than you can see actually on the screen, and it is a challenge for setting the car up and for the guys driving.
Meeting of minds, Ron Dennis there and Patrick Head of Williams, and a smile on the face of Ron Dennis, which in itself is a bit of a surprise after all the travails of yesterday.
Yeah, he's not going to be too happy with having known that they've done so much work and still having a suspension failure for Kimi's car, and Kimi being way down the grid is a big issue for him. They're going to have to do something pretty special to get him into the points today.
Giancarlo Fisichella, we always talk about the talents and the World Championship status of Fernando Alonso, but Giancarlo Fisichella isn't far behind in terms of ability.
He isn't far behind at all, and I think Fizzy's been one of these guys who's been so fast in his career, but he never quite had the consistency. We saw last year he came out the box and won that first Grand Prix. Tremendous occasion for everybody there, including Giancarlo himself, to get that under his belt, but it hasn't quite gone as smoothly as what Alonso's role has in the team, and that's something that probably ponders in his mind as much as anybody else's.
We heard your thoughts about the comparative sound of V8 engines against V10 power. How have the drivers had to adapt during the course of preparing for this season?
The actual driving, we've spoken to all the guys, and they're not too concerned about any differences there. There's a little bit more corner speed. They've lost, obviously, some straight line speed because of that lack of horsepower, but it's all relative. At the end of the day, what they want to do is go out there and race wheel to wheel, and if it's 210 or 200 miles an hour, who cares? Let's just see if we can get some great racing.
And with tyre changes now back on the schedule, how do you judge the balance of power between Michelin and Bridgestone?
Well, it should be that Bridgestone should come into a stronger situation again after last year, now that we've got these tyre changes back in. I know that they're very happy to have them, and Ferrari are looking forward to that. But you can't underestimate Michelin. You know, if we get a straightforward tyre war, it's going to be great for everybody concerned.
Keke Rosberg down there with his son, Nico Rosberg. And all the anticipation increases. The grid full of the usual mix of team personnel, royalty and celebrities. Very familiar environment for Martin Brundle.
Hello everybody, welcome to the grid. At least you haven't got to get up at 5 o'clock to see this first race of the season. It's actually very windy out there, but it doesn't seem to be so here on the grid because it's sheltered by this magnificent grandstand. Michael Jackson was due to be on the grid today, but apparently he's not going to make it. It's going to be a thriller anyway, I'm absolutely sure. Let's dive in and see what we can learn. There's my teammate from the celebrity race earlier on, Nick Mason, the Pink Floyd drummer, of course, I hardly need to tell you. Nick, you've been on the grid a few times for Formula One, yeah?
I have, yeah, but it's always fantastically exciting, and this place is just incredible.
It's beautiful, isn't it? And you've driven the track now, isn't it? It's really a good layout, isn't it?
It's fantastic. It's got so many sort of interesting connections. The corners all connect up to each other. Fantastic.
Well done. JK, how'd you get on?
Are you Jet Ranger?
No, I'm Jet Ranger, yeah. How about you take the mickey? How's it going? You had a good weekend here?
It's been absolutely fantastic. The Bahraini people have been so hospitable, and the circuit's great, and it's a privilege to be able to drive it really badly like I did. Why we came 7th, you know.
Who's going to win the race?
Ferrari's going to win the race.
Rick Parfit.
Yeah, hiya. Who's going to win?
Yeah.
Probably Ferrari. We hope Ferrari. We're looking for a Ferrari. Or the Red Bull. We want Red Bull. We want Coulthard to win.
You just won the Red Bull.
Okay, right, let's go and see what the grid thinks going to happen. Michael Schumacher on pole, 65 poles, and of course that matches the great Ayrton Senna. Of all the records we expected Schumacher to get, he's tops all the tables. We never thought he'd quite get that far, but that's amazing. Let's see if Felipe Massa is on. I just want a quick word with him, and he's talking to his engineer. Quick word, Felipe? Sorry to interrupt. So, front row of the grid, first time for you in Formula One to be here with Michael Schumacher behind you, beside you. What are you going to do about it? You going for the lead, or?
I mean, I will try everything to be in the end of the race in the best position I can, for sure. In the start, it's important to do a good start, try to pull away from the others. We'll try to do the best I can. For sure the race is long, our competitor is very strong, but I think we are quite competitive to fight for the victory.
Do you think your tyres will hang on as well as the Michelins? Do you think over the longer runs you can keep these guys off behind you?
I think we will be very competitive. Maybe the Michelin people will be a bit more competitive in the race, I think, than they was in qualifying. But I think we can fight a lot with them.
I'm going to go and talk to them. Thank you. Good luck. Right, let's see if we can find Jenson Button, who is he is at the front of the car. Let's just dive in here. Are you with me, Matt? Well done. Somebody else, I understand we're talking to his engineer. Jenson, right, qualifying didn't seem to go quite how you expected it to go, but you must be pretty happy here, just behind the Ferraris.
Yeah, I think it's a good position to be in. You know, we don't know what strategies people are doing, but I think we're all pretty close. And we just got to wait and see.
Do you think Ferrari will use Massa to hold you guys up and let Michael go?
No, that'd be team orders, and you're not allowed to do that. Well, no, I don't think they will. It's the first race of the season. You know, I think it's a free-for-all in a way it should be. So yeah, hopefully it's going to be a straightforward race, and it's going to be very exciting.
Now, are you looking over your shoulder at anybody, or literally just forward? Do you think you can win this race?
Yeah, definitely. We've got a quick car. We've shown that here in testing, and it's very consistent. So that's the important thing around this circuit, especially in these conditions. I think the Renault will be strong of Alonso, and you can't cut out Juan Pablo or the Ferrari. So we'll wait and see, but it should be good, and hopefully be enjoyable for you viewers watching on TV.
And the start, what is it? If you've got to get past a Ferrari if you can somehow down the first corner.
Yeah, it'd be very useful getting past Massa into turn 1, but you can't plan these things. We just got to see what happens.
But you're on the grippy side of the grid, aren't you? Theoretically, at least.
Yeah, this is a bonus.
All right, well, good luck. We're looking forward to that. That's Sir Steve Redgrave over here, the winner of the race. He managed to beat Sir Steve. How's it going? Is it the first time for you on the grid of a Formula One race?
First time on the grid. I've been to one Grand Prix before, but this is pretty magical of being here in the sort of the middle of it all. It's pretty special.
And try to explain to the people back home that the atmosphere here and the energy that's going on.
Well, there's so much energy going on. Well, one of the things you don't realise is how many people are actually out here. That really does amaze me. It's something the sport that I was involved in is that you wouldn't get anybody anywhere near you within the race time. But the cars are barred off. But there are just so many people, a lot of engineers, mechanics, but a few people like us as well are sort of wandering around, and so many media as well. It's pretty special.
You can imagine if it was a football match, us all walking on and talking to the players. But I'm going to have to move on because I've just got a few seconds left. Great to see you and thank you. So just moving down the field here, I think as we go along, they're going to be running more and more fuel as they move, as we move through the field. And they're going to have fueled up all the time, trying to be one step ahead of the driver in front when he pits. I just want to see if I can find Bernie and just get a quick. I don't think we've had a quick word with him today. Right, this is not going to go down well. Bernie, what did you think of qualifying? You happy with that?
Yeah. As I sort of introduced it, I have to be happy, but everybody else is happy, which is more important.
Do you think there'll be any fine-tuning of it, or are you going to stick with that?
No, I think, well, no, it's okay as it is. It does what we want. Got rid of a few people early on.
This is looking like a great race. Going to be good. Okay, back to you, Steve.
Well done, Martin. We'll let you head to the commentary box with James Allen. Further thoughts from Mark Blundell. The fuel element and the fuel tactics out there on the grid. How do you read things there?
Well, I think the people that were standing in the garage at the moment are feeling very confident because everyone feels that Renault are carrying a very heavy fuel load. Honda's in there, Ferrari definitely in there, and you could see McLaren with a sensible fuel load on as well, but these guys are looking strong for the win.
And Jensen's attitude maybe not to be too aggressive at the start. Nice to get past one of those Ferraris early on, though.
You know, to finish first you must finish, and I think he's taking an attitude at the moment. He knows he's got a good car, he knows he's got to knock in points to go for a World Championship title, and at this point in time he doesn't want to make any silly mistakes and get caught up in anybody else's accident.
Well, new cars, new drivers all the way down the grid. You have to congratulate Super Aguri just for the simple fact of getting two cars out on the grid in the space of a couple of months.
I think they've done a tremendous job. They've got the backing of Honda, obviously, but Aguri Suzuki, a former F1 driver himself, and Daniel Detto, a man with a lot of experience, have done a tremendous job to get that team here. And just as you say, Steve, to be turned up on the back of the grid is a great achievement.
Okay, what a wonderful season in prospect. Which way is this opening race going to go, do you feel, Mark?
I'm just ready to see this race go now. I'd like to see Schumacher pull it off, and I'd like to see Renault do it. I'd like to see Jensen Button more than anybody do his first Grand Prix win.
We'd all like to see that. It's one of the great scenes in world sport, a grid in anticipation of the start of a Formula One race. And for us and for everyone involved in the sport, the waiting is almost over. And when you join us again in just a few minutes' time, it'll be for the huge excitement that goes with the start of a Formula One Grand Prix and a new Formula One season.
Has built up in that period of the winter testing, but soon all the questions that you have about Formula One and the competitiveness of the different teams are going to be answered. Well, as you can see, we have a beautiful day here in the Gulf for the first round of the 2006 World Championship. Building very much on the success of the first two races here, the organisers have put on a fantastic weekend, helped, it has to be said, by some scintillating track action, particularly in the new qualifying format that we had yesterday. Well, the Middle East is a region with a lot of attention on it at the moment, not always for the right reasons, and this event is very important as it's the top social and sporting occasion of the year for the region. Many sultans, sheikhs, kings and princes are here, and the emphasis is on enjoying a top sporting day.
Rejoin us here in Bahrain very shortly. Back here at the Sakhir circuit, we went into this Bahrain Grand Prix with huge expectations, all of which have been justified. An absorbing, thrilling race. A victory for Fernando Alonso after a race-long battle with Michael Schumacher. And what a start to the season, Mark Blundell.
Fantastic race. And I think, as Martin said, obviously on the podium there, what great names you've got. And the situation is, for me, I think Kimi Raikkonen's going to be a future world champion. He's standing up there with two world champions now. We've got so much more to come this season. Great.
And it's just, not just the men out on the track. Fernando Alonso absolutely correct to dedicate that victory to the Renault pit crew, who are fantastic.
Oh, very much so, because those guys turned that car around in the pit stop just when it was needed. A lot of hard work went into that, and the pressure is on those guys. Don't worry too much about Alonso sitting in the cockpit. That's a smooth area for him to contend with. A lot of pressure, he gets out here, and this is the make or break for the race. We get to the end of the pit lane. He's got to be thinking, and he's got to get the information to know where Michael Schumacher's actually going to be. But how close does it get? They both come into vision here, down into turn one. Alonso's got him in his sights and his mirrors. He doesn't want to let him by. There's no way he's going to give up that Grand Prix win.
And you'd earlier seen rare frustration from Fernando Alonso, who he felt probably hadn't made up enough time during those crucial 4 laps.
Well, he was frustrated with the guys in front of him. He knew there was traffic. He couldn't see any blue flags. He obviously didn't know there was information going to those guys. He wanted them out the way. Valuable time, tenths of a second, and look how close it got.
Very, very satisfying day for Renault and for Ferrari, but let's get Renault opinion from Pat Simmons inside the Renault camp with Ted Kravitz.
Well, Pat, many congratulations. But was that dice with Michael after the second stop a little too close for comfort?
Yeah, obviously we liked a bit more of a gap, but you know, we were tracking it all the way through. We knew that was the critical part of the race. In fact, even in our pre-race brief, we'd said that was going to be critical. It was as close as it comes, but you know, that's what it's about. It's great.
Must have been pretty sweet to get one over Ferrari.
Yeah, sure. That was a strong start from them. You know, the car's running well. It's the first race, and we've shown what we've got. It's really enjoyable.
I know it's probably too early to be talking about the championship, but can we talk about the championship now?
It's far too early. Yeah, you know, it's going to have a slightly different face, but you know, what a drive from Raikkonen today. So maybe it's not going to be that different, just a few more people in it.
Well done, Pat.
Well done, Renault, and David Coulthard has joined us after a different kind of race. What was the experience like for you out there this afternoon?
Well, I feel like I've been on a fast spin on a tumble dryer setting. You know, I had a flat spot after the incident with Heidfeld, and so much vibration I couldn't read the dials on the steering wheel. So I had to rely on the engineer to tell me what colour the button was that I needed to push to transfer certain things. But yeah, disappointing weekend overall, just outside the points. A lot of work to be done. You know, this is the first Grand Prix distance we've achieved.
Our commentators were nominating so many candidates for driver of the day, and you had a close-up view of the talents of Nico Rosberg out there this afternoon.
Yeah, well, he came by me at a fair rate of knots. I seem to be being passed with everyone on the straights today. I did a very, very good straight line speed. But yeah, a clean manoeuvre. Other than that, he just kind of disappeared off into the distance. So I'll need to rely on the others to have said whether he had a good wheel-to-wheel race with anyone. David, thanks for joining us, and we can hear from the top 3 now. The press conference is underway. All right, guys.
Well, we'll hear from them in just a few minutes' time. Press conference not quite underway. We'll take a break and we'll be right back with the top 3 in just a few minutes. Racing of this quality and final results like this one. Is this going to be the shape of the season to come? Dramatic victory for the defending world champion Fernando Alonso here in the Bahrain Grand Prix from a race-long challenge from Michael Schumacher. Kimi Raikkonen coming from the very back of the grid to complete the podium. Jenson Button just missing out on that top 3. Stunning drive from Nico Rosberg in the points on his Formula One debut as well. But let's hear from the man who's won this Bahrain Grand Prix. What a start to the defence of his title, Fernando Alonso. Hear from him now.
Fernando, it was close all the way, but a great start. You got up to second place on the first lap.
Yeah, the start was good, and from there was a little bit easy to think about the race, because about the start maybe was too down in the first lap, and then impossible to recover. And first stint, Michael was too quick, nothing to do. We saw that we had more fuel than the others, especially yesterday in quali, to go to lap 20. And then from there, I think the car was performing well. We were similar pace to Michael, and in the second stop, thanks to the lag, thanks to the mechanics, to do a perfect pit stop again, I was very close, but in front of Michael. And from there was, I think, similar again pace, but just me on the front.
It looked to be a bit of a tense time for you going into that second stop when you knew you had to make up time and you're in traffic there.
Yeah, a lot of traffic, and I think all the guys were okay to let me pass, but were no blue flags at all. So the marshals were not in the race in that moment, and you know. But I had luck enough to be in front of Michael, and was good. It was really nice and really fun race for me.
How did you drive that last stint with Michael behind you?
At the beginning, quite slow, quite conservative, because I knew that at the beginning maybe the Michelin tires are a little bit better, and at the end maybe the Bristol tires are better. So I knew that Michael at the end, the last 4 or 5 laps, for sure we had some problems with him. So I was a little bit conservative and really conserved the tires to the end. but at the end was also quite a nice gap. This 1 second, 1 second and a half, and all the last stint was quite relaxed.
Outstanding racing and some impressive reliability down the field for the first race of the season. How tough is it going to be for these teams now to repeat it all in Malaysia next weekend?
It's going to be very tough. They take these V8 engines now, go back to Malaysia. Very dusty around here, also dusted out. I'll be very impressed if they make it through to the second race. But what a fantastic race. Vintage year ahead.
And a quick word about Jenson Button. He's shown today that he has got the potential, hasn't he?
He's definitely got the potential. Unfortunately for Jenson, the start was that poor. It was on his back foot. He's got the pace. He's going to be on the podium, and I think he's going to win a Grand Prix this year.
Here in Bahrain, we now know one of the big ingredients of the new season. Alonso against Schumacher. What a prospect, eh?